Distance can be a major barrier to accessing quality healthcare on time. That's where Angel Flight East comes in. Welcome to Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East, a nonprofit dedicated to providing free flights for children and adults who need medical treatment far from home. We don't know how many people forego medical care because they don't have accessible transportation, and that's what this podcast is here to change. Join passionate AFE staff members Jess, Ames, and Maddy, Beck as they share real-life stories from people who have used AFE services to get the care they need when they need it.
Welcome back with another episode of Takeoff Talk. You're here with me, Maddy.
And me, Jess.
And today we have pilot Doug. Hi, Doug.
Hey there.
So Doug is not an Angel Flight. Well, he is an Angel Flight East pilot, but he is one of our cheaters, and he has declared the alliance with Angel Flight Soars. So do you want to tell our listeners about how long you've been flying with Angel Flight Soars?
Yeah, I started there. I think I did my first trip in either September or October of 2022. And I've been kind of here and there with those folks ever since.
How did you hear about Angel Flight Soars?
I Googled it, actually. I had heard about Angel Flight kind of in general. I didn't realize that it was, several different organizations that did it. I just thought it was a really cool thing. So while I was doing my pilot training and ratings and stuff, I looked it up on the internet, and I found that they were, close to where I was.
And where are you located? I'm
just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
It's much warmer down there. We're cold up here.
And people are nicer.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm from here. I'm a Southerner, but when I travel, I think I feel a little bit more at home sometimes because I'm really pretty quiet and not like overly friendly. And sometimes I feel like folks around here are kind of like that. I love traveling out west for that reason. You can just, I can be quiet.
Avoid eye contact and keep going.
Right, a little bit. Yeah, kind of.
I love that. We're not overly friendly either, but somehow people think we're very social, but we're actually very antisocial.
I mean, I think the misconception is that you can't be both antisocial and like a caring, decent person at the same time, but you totally can. I promise it's possible.
Exactly. See, we get it, Doug.
City of brotherly love, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
So do you have a favorite Angel Flight you've done with Angel Flight Soars so far?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I've enjoyed a lot of them for a lot of reasons. But probably my favorite was the one I was mentioning to you a little while ago. I took a 4-week-old baby and her parents from just outside of Atlanta up to Greensboro, and I met with an Angel Flight East pilot there, and he brought them the rest of the way. They were going up to Chomp. It was so rewarding for a lot of reasons. The baby was adorable, obviously, and her parents were a ton of fun. They never flown in a small airplane before. And they just, her dad especially, just really ate the whole thing up, and I was playing tour guide all the way, which is really cool. And I love flying into Greensboro, so it was a really cool experience for everybody, I think. And that one was a trip that baby really needed. General aviation, commercial aviation was not a good option, and certainly driving from Atlanta to Philadelphia would be suboptimal, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long have you been flying now? Just in general, not even just Angel Flight associated.
Yeah, so not very long. Don't tell my passengers that. They probably wouldn't feel very good. I got my private certificate in January 22, and then I got my instrument rating in March of 22. So I'm actually getting ready to do an IPC tomorrow and a flight review tomorrow. So that'll be kind of my 2-year anniversary, I guess.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. I've sort of been around flying in general aviation. I've kind of had contact with it a couple times throughout the years, but it was only a couple of years ago that it finally took, and I got it all done.
That's pretty quick too to get it all done.
Yeah, well, I mean, my logbook is, I don't know, my first hours in the logbook are probably from 2001, but it was really sporadic. I figured out that if I was really going to do it, I needed to just dedicate totally to it, and that's what I did for about 6 months. My family didn't see me, and I pretty much was either working or at the airport. So it's a good way to do it.
That works. And what do you do when you're not being a volunteer pilot? So that other job that keeps you busy.
So I'm a PA. I'm currently working in a primary care office. I've done emergency medicine and done critical care medicine too. So
there you go. And I think that our listeners need to hear about the story that you sent to us in an email.
Yeah, it's funny you asked what I do for a living. I really try to not mention that. when I'm flying, especially because most of these people are flying for obviously some medical reason. I just don't want to bring it up. I want to be your pilot for the day. So anyway, it was my very first trip, and I took a lady from Daniel Field in Augusta, Georgia, and she was going back home after a pretty routine follow up. She's going back to Savannah, and my very first Angel Flight trip, and I was a little nervous. You could tell she was a little nervous, but we kind of broke the ice, and we were talking in cruise, and she asked me what I do for a living, so I told her, and we talked about that a little bit, and I'm like, okay, so I felt like she was getting more comfortable, which is good. I always brief the passengers that during takeoff and during landing we have what's called a sterile cockpit. We don't talk during those phases of flight because it's really busy and we want to focus and make sure all of our attention is on landing. So we try to limit the non-essential communication. And she was okay with that until we were on, like, I don't know, maybe a 2-mile final going into it was runway 27 in Savannah, or 28. I can't remember which one it is down there. Anyway, and she holds her hand up right directly in front of my face, and she has a trigger finger on one of her hands, just a benign, kind of orthopedic thing. And she holds it up in front of my face and says, "So what is this anyway?"
Not the time.
She was trying to get some medical advice, but it was right. It's about the worst time you could be doing that, and everything was fine. I just said, "Hey, we'll talk about it when we're on the ground. It's no big deal." But it was a little unnerving,
especially that close to the runway.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think in cruise maybe not such a big deal, but when you're flying, you're really kind of laser focused on your aiming point there, and trying to look around and see what else is going on. Savannah's a fairly busy airport too, so there's a lot of noise and chatter going on. So it was a little disconcerting, but a great storytelling. I mean, it was hilarious. I wasn't upset.
Yeah, we were cracking up when we were reading the email. We're like, well, first we're like, people actually do listen to us and think it's funny, and then we're laughing at your story because we could just picture it happening.
Yeah. I'll never forget it. So.
Mm-hmm.
I am the little sister of a medical provider, so 9 times out of 10, she gets just a text from me, and so I can only imagine how it would feel for it to be while she's flying an airplane. Not that will ever be Hannah and my situation, but I can only imagine how that moment of being like, what?
Well, and I try to not. I try to just be your pilot for the day when I'm flying. And part of the reason is a lot of these folks there, the conditions that they're dealing with, the reason they're going to specialty care, hundreds of miles away from home, is they have some really specialized kind of stuff. And I'm just a general medical provider. I don't specialize. I'm not really very knowledgeable at any one thing. So it's not like I can really contribute anything to the conversation. So I actually enjoy hearing their stories just as they would tell it to, a random person. So.
Well,
That's awesome.
There you go.
If you could say anything about being a volunteer pilot, what would it be?
Well, I'm a big advocate. I say go do it. That's the first step. And there's a lot. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about maybe kind of what's involved in it and what kind of person is a volunteer pilot. And I think the answer to that is really it's any kind of person with an airplane who cares enough about somebody else to want to take them somewhere they need to go. The rewards you get, and I've heard this is a common theme. I think I've heard it from every pilot on your show, and I've heard it from lots of other folks. What you get back is so much more than what you give. And that's true from a human perspective. I think you do feel good, and you feel fortunate to be in the position that you are in your own life. You feel fortunate about your own health and that of the people around you who you love and care about. But the other thing that doesn't get talked about for whatever reason is that this is a fantastic experience for a pilot to have. And it honestly was the thing that attracted me to it in the first place. This is as far as developing skills as a new pilot, and this is coming from a guy that's only been doing it for a couple of years now, I can't think of any better way to gain experience and skills than taking someone else from where they need to go to where they need to go on their schedule. So it really does open up the world of aviation a little bit for you. Anyway, I feel like if I didn't have this, I would probably be one of those guys that never leaves a 50-mile radius of his home airport. And I can't justify the cost of aviation, to that end. It just it's not worth it. So.
Where is your favorite place to fly? You've mentioned a few different airports now.
Um, that's a good question. I like to fly to Myrtle Beach. Maybe a little soft spot in my heart there. That was the first time I took my family anywhere. We went down for a vacation, and I've actually, gone down there for like the day when they've been down with some family. So that's kind of fun use of the airplane. Um, I love Daniel Field. That was where I first took an Angel flight. That was a good one. They have cheap fuel, and they're very, very, very nice and friendly folks down there. So that's easy. Cincinnati is kind of nice. I like Lincoln. That was a fun trip. So I don't know. I kind of like them all.
Isn't Cincinnati pretty busy?
Lincoln is the when I went in there, it wasn't all that busy. It's a fairly busy reliever airport for the bigger one in town though. And I understand that we do a fair number of trips up there. And I think East does as well, going out to the Children's Hospital there. But it's really cool because it's right on the river. It's a neat looking approach. Anyway, it's a pretty spot.
That's awesome. So what is one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
I would just say, if you have any interest at all in public benefit flying, I find a way to do it, whether it's an Angel Flight or Pilots and Paws or one of the other organizations or whoever you come across, whatever is interesting to you. Take an opportunity and go do it. I think it's fantastic.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you
we appreciate
so much.
it.
Yeah, and we hope you get on an Angel Flight East flight soon.
I'm going to work on that. I'll be watching closely.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
You're welcome. It's nice talking with you.
You too. So excited to know that people listen.
I know, and not even people from our organization. Technically,
Yeah.
we're reaching far and wide. I wonder, I have to look up the analytics of where people are listening from again.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And then I always get really excited because I know there's certain pilots of ours who do listen, but they're professional pilots. And so then I look at the analytics and it says that somebody's listening in Sweden. And then I look on Facebook and it's just our pilots in Sweden listening. I'm like, God darn it.
Come on, we're trying to be worldwide here. Trying to be like Taylor Swift and be worldwide billionaires. Maybe not the billionaire part.
I would like to be the billionaire part, but we work for a nonprofit, which means there's no profit for us. But what I was going to say is that we've actually been equated to the Kelsey brothers twice.
Oh, that's
so
probably
shout
the
out
best
to
compliment.
you, bud, because I will never let that go. It's going to go on my tombstone one day. And I've already decided. Compliment. I've already decided in our personalities, I'm Jason.
But I still, if I have to be, I'll take one for the team and be Travis.
Yeah, no,
but he does dress like I've never seen before because Jason showed up to the Vegas Super Bowl dressed like the guy from The Hangover.
Yes, and try and tell me that's not me.
With his little satchel and his little blue shirt. That would be you. And then I saw all these photos afterwards when he went out, when they won, and then him hungover holding his kid at the parade in Disney World. And
I love him.
He is so great. Much. Well, we're going to have to think up a better name for the duo, and the duo is us.
That's it for today's episode of Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East. If you want to learn more about our services, please visit our website at www.angelflighteast.org or call our office at 215-358-1900. Join us in our mission. If you're a healthcare worker or a patient in need of air travel and flight services, AFE is here for you. Subscribe to the show so you can hear more stories. Join us again next week right here on Takeoff Talk.